Good morning, everybody, or good night, whichever one may apply to you. My name is Tyler. I was coming back with another video this morning. I wanted to go over a concept in PowerShell called switching or switch statements. So let's get straight into it. Um, I'm going to go ahead and create a new file. Actually, let me do it a different way. I'm going to click over here. I'm going to do switch example.ps1. Hit enter. Okay. So the concept of a switch statement in PowerShell is used when you want to maybe create some kind of menu for your users or something like that. So I'm actually looking on the documentation supplied by Microsoft, and I'll actually link this in the description below. But if we look at it, what I'm going to do, I'm going to create a simple little menu for users to interact with in order to make a selection for your code to do. Now, if you've seen my other video on choosing elements other than the exact one you're working with, this would be a perfect example for if you have multiple environments that you would like to work with. So like, say for instance, your production environment or your DR environment or whatever environment. It could be Minneapolis, Minnesota. It could be Birmingham, Alabama. It could be Atlanta, Georgia, whatever. So the first thing we want to do is create some sort of menu for our user to interact with. So first things first, we need to, let's just say, create the menu. It's going to be just a lot of right host statements. Now, I could probably get away with using just one single line of right host with some tricks that I've learned, but I'll digress just for ease of reading and understanding. So I'm just going to go ahead and use the star element here, and it probably doesn't have to be that long. But one thing that I do want to do is I want to copy this, and I'd basically like this to be, the menu to be inside of these star elements here. So let's create another menu item here, and we're just going to start here and say choose one for happy and we can actually copy that a couple of times. We'll do 3, 2, and let's just make this happy, sad, mad. Alright, so you can play around with this to get it lined up just like you want it to. I'm going to add a few space characters in there. I wish that would stay away. Just so I can see where it is. Alright, that kind of looks like it's in the middle, so let's actually add a clear statement up here at the top. I'll do clear dash host. That's the correct term for clearing the terminal window. Alright, so now that we have our menu up here, now what we need to do is actually give a little space here with a couple of returns. And then what we're going to do is we're actually going to use a element, which I'll also link below to the documentation for, is read-host. And what this is going to do is it is actually going to allow your user to interact with the console. So select the number, select a number. Alright, so now what we're going to do is we're just going to run this single element, and you can press F8 to run selection. That's basically going to be either where your cursor's at, or you can actually select all or a portion of a code and press F8 and it'll actually run it. But we only want to run this single line, and if you see down here at the bottom, it's waiting on the user to interact with it. So we're just going to type something down here and it returns that. Now what we also want to do is actually have this input stored into a variable in order to use the switch statement. So we're just going to name this not that, but the $. We're going to call this answer and set that equal to reading the host whatever the user inputs. So now if we run that and we just type in a bunch of got to be down here, type in a bunch of stuff, it doesn't really do anything. I'm going to move that up a little bit, but if we wanted to see what is stored in answer, now we can see that, you know, this is what was stored or input by the user. Okay, so now that we have that set up, now what we need to do is start the switch statement. So we would just type switch, and so this, if you hit tab, which this is a function of VS Code I would imagine, but it automatically sets up what the switch format needs to look like. So what it's asking for here is where this $X is, that needs to be your input for the switch statement. So if you remember, we want this answer variable to be what is read in when the user enters in their answer. So we're just going to put answer there. Alright, so now that we have that input, now we need a condition, and our condition is a number. So if we just put 1, we're going to say do this inside these brackets here for the answer 1, 2, and we're just going to get everything set up for now, 3, and you don't really have to put the spaces in there. And then default is what happens if none of the answers or none of the switch conditions are met. So this means that it will, you can say, hey, right host, your answer was invalid or whatever, and that's probably what we'll do. So let's do this. Let's say for answer 1, right-host, you are happy. Same here, right-host, dash host, and you want to make sure that this is concise with what your menu shows. So you are sad. Right host again, right dash host, and this one is going to be, of course, you are mad. Default, we can say right dash host, your answer was invalid. Okay, exclamation mark, because we want them to understand that, hey, that is not a correct choice. Now, also, there is a function where if you need to add more things, you can obviously you can add different lines, things like that, and you can just say break. And what break does, it says, okay, let's get out of here. This was wrong. Let's go. But if we wanted to clean it up a little bit, there is the semicolon will essentially say that, hey, this line of code is going to continue past this point. Execute the next set of code in this line. If you didn't have that, it would not work correctly. All right. So let's just run this and see what happens. All right. So if you see here, we've got our menu up here. We're going to press the number 1, and it's going to say, hey, you are happy, which is correct. Let's press F5. Uh-oh. Okay, let's see what this is bound to. It's bound to nothing. All right, so we're just going to run it again. In ISE, the run script command is F5, so it's not bound here. Okay, so we're going to select 2. We're just making sure, we have an error, but it returned the right value, so I'm not sure what's going on with that. Now if we hit run a third time, hit 3, hit enter, you are mad. Alright, so now let's test out our default actions. So select a number, and we're going to press the letter A. Alright, so that would be an invalid input. Your answer, and I even spelled answer incorrectly. Control S for save. Alright, so if you see, even with the misspelling here, it shows that your answer is invalid. So in this instance, and where I use this in my work life, is I will have different variables set up here for production environments in VMware, the host names or IP addresses, and then I would have another variable for each of the hosts, and then I would also have this default statement. So I'm not exactly sure how else this would be useful, but I actually enjoy using this. It makes it so much easier to manage larger scripts. You can section it out by, hey, if the answer is this, these are your variables to run with, go, that kind of thing. But if you have any tips or tricks for using the switch statement, please don't hesitate to comment down below. Give me some ideas. This is a very simplified version of what I have and use at work. So Um, leave us a comment below and just let us know what you think about the example here, and if you know of a better way to achieve the same result. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and we'll catch you on the next one. Take care, everybody. Bye bye.